Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're with Jim Garner, the Chief Executive Officer of Allergenis. It's a company focusing on revolutionizing the diagnosis and management of food allergies. Tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Sure, I'd love to. I've been in life sciences for just over 30 years. Generally senior leadership positions, mostly focused on diagnostics, but other elements of healthcare as well. I started off in the Army, which was a great place to develop lifelong leadership skills, lifelong habits, great way to serve the country, but also moving in from the military right into leadership positions was really fundamental to my career.
That's great. And I mean, it sounds like a lot is happening at Allergenis, but tell us a little bit about where the business is today and really what's the core activity right now.
We were formed about 5 years ago based on research out of Mount Sinai. The scientific underpinnings of the company really have been de-risked, and it's based on just over 20 years of research out of Mount Sinai by one of the world's thought leaders in food allergy. We were formed to commercialize his research, get it into the clinic and make it available to allergists, but also individuals and families like yours. The state of the business is we have in-market products for peanut allergy, and we're going through two different distribution channels. One is consumer facing, where an individual or a family can start the process to get better answers around peanut allergy, or they can go to their allergist, and allergists who know of this research, know about the scientific merit of it, allergists can also order the test on behalf of the individual or the patient. So we're in market, we have this peanut assay. We're also continuing to develop blood tests for other food allergens. Milk will be next, followed by egg. And those three constitute 85% of the food allergy reactions in the United States.
Wow.
So we'll have great market coverage with those three food allergens.
That's incredible. I remember taking my son to Mount Sinai for probably your test, probably really to kind of test out his peanut allergy issues, but certainly something that's absolutely critical. And tell me a little bit about the state of the business. I mean, I think that you guys are in the process of raising some money.
Yeah, so far we've raised just under 20 million, and we're in the process of continuing to raise growth capital at this point. We have all the fundamentals in the business in place. So the next step is to raise enough money to start commercial activity in earnest, meaning hire a sales force, really ramp up the spend on marketing. So yes, we're out raising our next series of financing, and we're using Regulation CF funding to raise the money.
Right. So that's a crowdfunding model. Tell us a little bit about how that differs from any of the past efforts that you've gone through with raising money.
Our focus over the last 4 years has been going to traditional institutional venture capitalists, institutional investors, family offices, high net worth individuals, strategic partners or companies. And largely because of how early we are in our formation, VCs, for the most part, are waiting for us to build a business, which requires capital. And it seems more and more venture capitalists have gone to being crossover investors rather than early stage investors. So we've largely been unsuccessful at the traditional route of raising money. And we also believe that that somewhat is attributed to the markets and our segment. We're a diagnostic company. So since 2020, there were almost 700 venture deals in life sciences. Only 8% were diagnostic, and only 4% of those deals were in the United States.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Really, really tough environment to raise money for diagnostic companies these days. So
it just seems to me that diagnostics, certainly during the pandemic, seemed to be the hottest thing in the world. The most important thing.
During the pandemic, it certainly was. And the focus is now back to therapeutics.
You guys are focused on clearly the largest issue in the food allergy space, which is the peanut allergy, but you also have these other areas that you highlighted, which might be equally large in size. I don't know, dairy and the third one that you mentioned. Tell me a little bit about the state of kind of development in the allergy marketplace and what customers, what people are looking for.
Well, you mentioned the pandemic, and I would say that a lot of bad things happened as a result of the pandemic, but a lot of good things emerged as well. So with food allergy in particular, over the last 4 years, there's been a real focus because of caregivers like you. There's been a real focus on getting better answers. And instead of strict avoidance, caregivers and individuals are starting to really push hard on life science companies to develop something that's more effective than just avoiding the food. Mm-hmm. Food is central to obviously our lives. It's central to our health, but it's also central to our culture and our social life. You were telling me about your son inviting people over, not trusting anybody else to prepare his food, so he makes his own. Food is central to our daily living. So because of the pandemic, more and more people are pushing really hard for improved diagnostics and also improved therapeutics. So our company is really the first to bring any kind of innovation to the blood test. And with a better blood test, therapeutic developers are able to stratify patients better into clinical trials so that more emerging therapies are being developed. When I started the company in 2017, there were only 3 global companies focused on a therapeutic for food allergy. Now there's over 30.
Wow.
That's all emerged in the last 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
So the food allergy is changing drastically and dramatically. And it's because of tools like ours. And it's because of other technologies coming in from other indications like oncology to better develop diagnostics and therapeutics for this space, for food allergy.
So, Jim, you've mentioned that most of your career's been in life sciences, I believe. You clearly have a passion for the space, but tell me a little bit about what drives you and what brings you joy in what you do.
My career has always been focused on solving difficult problems or answering questions that are hard to find answers to from a diagnostic standpoint. What's attracted me to food allergy is a little bit of what you and I talked about with your son. It's very difficult to live with this diagnosis. And not your son, but very often it's a false positive. And everybody now knows what that means because of COVID testing. Everybody knows what a false negative is, what a false positive is. But the current blood test has about a 60% false positive rate. And people are starting now to understand that, where they didn't know that 5 years ago. So that's part of it. But the other side of it is once somebody is diagnosed with a food allergy, nobody's ever told them how much is safe to eat because everyone has a different threshold. The prescription is you have to strictly avoid this food allergen. You have to eliminate it from your diet, but that's not true for everybody.
Right.
It's only true for about 5% of the population that's allergic to peanut, or about 5% of the population that's allergic to milk. Everybody else has a level. Some kids could eat all the popcorn out of a box of Cracker Jacks and be fine, and they've never been told that. Some adults could go to a Thai food restaurant with their friends and sit next to somebody having pad Thai. Nobody's ever told them that they have a threshold. So one of the things that I'm really focused on now is being able to deliver these precision diagnostics to help people improve their quality of life, because they don't have to go through life avoiding everything and avoiding every restaurant, not going to ice cream parlors, not going to summer camps.
It's really interesting. I was watching a video that was talking about the history of cappuccinos in Italy, and the historian that had done the research said, well, listen, in Italy, as people know that have ever visited there, the Italians only drink cappuccinos before 11 in the morning. And they drink a certain size, like the sizing that we have in America from a Starbucks. They wouldn't have that. And I think that for a long time as an American, my perspective on that was like, how silly, those Italians, they're so strict. But in fact, it actually has a medical reason, which is, I guess, a lot of Italians can't digest the dairy well either. And so they love the flavor, but they know they need to get it in a small quantity earlier in the day, right? And that's it. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating, because no one's ever described it from the scientific perspective before, right? But, the idea that obviously we have so many problems in the States is that we get the sizing wrong, right? We go to the grandes and the ventis, and then suddenly maybe too much, right?
Well, the opposite is true too.
Yeah.
The exposure side of it is true as well. So the reason we know that early introduction of peanut abates food allergy later in life is because in Israel, kids' teeth on a snack called bamba, and it's a cracker, and it's coated with peanut powder.
Yeah.
And little kids, as they're teething, are exposed to this antigen, so their immune response develops appropriately. Kids who aren't exposed to peanut, once they do see that antigen at 2 years old or whatever, that's when the allergic reactions occur. So the opposite is true too. We need, and we now know we need to be exposed to all these antigens. Back to your COVID example.
Yeah.
Being exposed to COVID turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
For most people.
Really interesting. Well, Jim, I mean, this has been an interesting year, 2023, and clearly on the docket for you and the Allergenis team is this crowdfunding raise that you're focused on right now. But what else is on the docket for this year?
Well, as I said, we validated a second assay for milk allergy. We'll move on to egg with appropriate financing. Part of that next round will also enable us to hire a sales force. So today we're fulfilling orders pretty much word of mouth through social media. We are going to the medical conferences, so we're talking to the allergy community, but we don't have a sales force yet. So we're looking forward to both of those things occurring based on appropriate funding. So I'm very focused on the Reg CF raise and then being able to deploy the capital after that.
Yeah, I can see that. And what a great moment for buildings. It's a great moment for every company, but always filled with lots of bumps in the road as well, but always good. Jim, it's been great talking with you about Allergenis. If someone wanted to learn more about what you and the team are working on, or perhaps interested in maybe even participating in your crowdfunding exercise here, where's the best place to reach you?
We have two websites. Allergenis.com is industry focused or physician focused. Anybody can visit that site, of course. And then we also have one that's consumer oriented, and it's called Enjoy Life in the Know.
Enjoy Life in the Know. Excellent. Well, Jim, thank you so much for being on Uncaged. We've been speaking with Jim Garner. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Allergenis. And we've been talking about their various products that they have that really help on the testing for food allergies and diagnostic area. And clearly there is a need to continue to innovate in that area and bring these excellent products to the market. And if you want to invest, this might be an exciting investment out there for all of you. Jim, thank you so much for being on the Uncaged show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.